Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I am Aaron St. Denis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today it is me and Jesse is live on location at a Starbucks near you. It could be near you. Let's not give away his location. It's a secret. We're here today for NFL Week 11 fantasy football waiver wire targets. How's it going, Jesse?
It's going good. As you can tell, I'm on the move today, so it's a little different, a little chaos going on. There's a Starbucks thing in the background. But yeah, overall, good day. Just got done with diabetic appointment, so that's always fun. Got that done, and then, gonna go pick up my daughter after this. So, fun day so far.
How'd you do in your leagues this week?
Pretty good for the most part. One league, I was like the second scorer and just lost to the top scoring team, so that's always frustrating when that happens. But thankfully, we have median at least, so I got to win. But overall, I think I won about 75% of my games, so pretty good week.
Not me. I had one of those bad, I shouldn't say a bad week. I lost maybe 5 games out of 70. The problem is 5 of the games were the 3 undefeated teams I had left. The other 2 were teams where I really was in a good spot. Like I was the number 1 seed, and they're in leagues like we're a vampire league, so it's going to cost me. One's going to cost you, and the 2 I lost that were in like that kind of league were the 2 highest. I was the second highest scorer and lost to the highest score, so that's nice. But
it's always nice to know
so in that league, it's like I'm gearing up for a playoff run. And then I got some nobody playing against him this week. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get to add another player, a couple weeks left before I go on a run here in the playoffs. And then I lose to Keenan Allen, 75 points and this and that. And it's going, well, that kind of killed my fucking season out of nowhere. But
yeah, we had a league, Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra going back to back against each other. That was chaos. That was like, okay.
We're going to start here with the quarterback waiver wire targets. And before I get into that, one of my targets is going to tie into the first little activity I'm going to perform here. What I'm going to have you do is I want you to go to any league you're in. I want you to go where you can see league leaders or standings, and I want you to sort by quarterback, season leaders in point total overall. Tell me if anything stands out.
You mean Sam Howell being top?
Sam Howell is QB3. That's what stands out. What the fuck?
Oh man, it's like they threw it 44 times again. It's insane. That defense is the worst defense in the league. It's like top 2. So it's just points galore. Like that's an offensive dream. So in every game, you just see points left and right. And even against the Giants next week, they should run as well.
I was doing some prep earlier, and I was looking through, and I just happened to click because I have him in. I've been the Sam Howell guy all season. And I had one league where I traded him early to get a quarterback because he wasn't doing well. And then I immediately regretted trading him. And everyone said, oh, you're not going to regret that. Sam Howell sucks. And sure enough, the next week he dropped his dud. And I reacquired him in that league at a discount after only 1 week. So then I just happened to be sorting through it. And I looked and I said, well, let's see, what's Sam Howell doing? And I looked at him like, QB3. I'm like, what the fuck is up with the scoring in this league? And then I sorted through and it's QB3. And I sorted to another league on another site and it's QB3. Sam Howell is QB3. And even in this league, I have a claim in on him right here. That's the claim up top. But he's on waivers in this league. And this is a pretty competitive league. I mean, it's single QB, but QB3. Sam Howell is QB3.
Where's Josh Dobbs? Because I'm looking at my league and he's top 10. And I'm like,
7.
Oh my God.
Josh Dobbs is QB7. Good God, what are we doing? And I look the other one, Dak Prescott is QB4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been on a roll. Him and Lamb are putting up like a 40 burger each week. Last week, it seems like it's just.
If you look at the top 10, it's all over. Like the top 10 includes Prescott, Howell, Dobbs, CJ Stroud. Who would have had those 4 in the top 10 going into the season? That's where we're at. And then Joe Burrow's down at like 16. It's really quite disgusting. But so we'll go over the quarterback targets here on the waiver wire. There aren't many trending up on Sleeper. They only have 4. I think 2 of them at least need to be rostered. Dobbs right now is QB7. Howell is QB3. Sam Howell needs to be rostered immediately in all formats, especially Superflex and Dynasty. Like I got him last week on a Dynasty Superflex waiver wire. So, I have no idea. He's just everyone hates him. He puts up those games where they suck, and Like he put that 4. That's where I traded him here, and I was like, shit, I regret doing that. And then he put up this game, and the guy I sold him to was like, oh, I fucking hate Sam Howell. Why did I do this trade? So I traded him. So originally was I sent Dak. I sent him Dak for Sam Howell because he was a rebuilder and I was a contender. So I needed Dak. And then the week later, I sent him Will Levis and a second rounder for Howell. So I'm like, oh, sweet. So now I have 2 top 8 quarterbacks in that league. But
yeah, it's crazy. I just don't get it. Like, I'm so blown away. And I was talking to Amit, who's the high point creator for the Commanders, and yeah, he's basically all in. He's saying, yeah, I would trade a late first for Sam Howell. So, take your word for it and run with it if you want Sam Howell. You're going to get a lot of points the rest of the season.
He's the guy I've wanted. He's the guy. I've been the guy on him all season. I'm trying to figure out this one. This is his lone games here where he had 249, but he had no touchdowns and 1 interception. That's why it was so low. But why was this one with 151 yards? Why was this still so high? What did he do here? Did he put in? Oh, 3 TDs. That's why I didn't see it. I seen the blank and that was the interception. So 3 TDs. But so look at this, like 3 touchdowns, 4, 3, 2. Then you got over 300, almost 400, almost 250. He's had literally 1 bad game passing yards wise since week 3. And in that game, he threw for 3 fucking touchdowns. So it didn't matter. So like every one of these games, he either throws for just about 300 yards or 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like 290, 388 and 2, 150 but 3, 249 and none, almost 400 and 4, 325 and 1. So like this is fucking insane. I've never really looked. I've always been high on him, but I've never really looked that deep into his stats. Good God, Sam Howell.
He's gonna break the passing record, man. Like they have the highest pass rate of like dropbacks in the league. It's over 70% right now.
He leads the league in passing yards.
Yeah, he's gonna lead the league in a lot of stats, like probably turnovers, sacks, maybe like pushing up touchdowns and attempts, yards. Like it's an ideal format for fantasy for a quarterback. Like it's just.
I'm going to hit the B button here and bookmark this because we're going to want to quote this later. But I've been the Sam Howell guy, and all along I said that if he managed to limit his mistakes, he makes more big money throws is how they classify it than any quarterback. He's got like 3 times as many as any other quarterback in the league so far. And I said if he could keep it up and with his rushing upside could minimize the stupid poor decisions he makes, he has Josh Allen level upside. I may be wrong. At this point, he may have above Josh Allen level upside because Josh Allen can't cut out the stupid Josh Allen mistakes. So he looks like Josh Allen 2.0. Everything Allen does well. He has a great arm, a cannon. He has great rushing upside, and he makes piss poor decisions. They are the same player.
Yeah, like look at the rushing difference though. Like that's where Allen smashes. It's because he rushes for so many more yards and like attempts. That's the main difference between them, and that's why Allen's like QB1 right now. It's because his rushing attempts, man. Even with the turnovers, he still had 20+ points yesterday. Like Josh Allen's absurd. It's fantastic for fantasy too. But yeah, it's very similar how they kind of struggle offensively sometimes and make bad decisions. It's what it is.
But it's funny because like I don't want to say a long-term game here, but the rushing numbers aren't actually, these are rushing yards right here. They're not insane. He hasn't broke 50 all season. He's like hovering right around 40. What's how I know Howell's only in the 20s or the teens. So he's double, but I mean, it's only really an extra 2 points depending on your scoring, 2 points difference for that. And the yardage, he's losing to Howell every week in the yardage and probably in the passing touchdowns. And he's equaling like, look, what's this fucking 6 in a row with at least 1 interception? Like the other thing I want to say, and I'm not saying go trade Sam Howell for Josh Allen. I'm not fucking crazy. I get it. But the one thing we see with these rushing quarterbacks too is eventually they hit a wall in the rushing. And he's rushing less this year than he was last year. Yeah, you could see he's not even on pace for half as many. Look at the yardage difference here. So when he does hit a wall, I think his arm is not as good as Sam Howell's. I think his rushing floor is better, and they both need to work on their piss poor decision making. But good God, I never thought I'd find myself comparing Sam Howell to Josh Allen as more than anything but like a joke. But good God, he has the upside here. I was gonna say he has QB3 upside, but he's already QB3. So good guy. Just goes to think if these guys actually had a decent offense, like fucking or a decent coordinator. Fuck.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see if finishes more fantasy points between him and Josh Dobbs. Because Josh Dobbs is giving you that rushing. So, like look at his last few games. Dobbs is just yard 22 points, 24 points, 25 points. Like, it's just absurd what he's doing. So, I think both these guys are QB1s rest of the season, like, easily. So, I'm pretty excited.
The only thing is, so he's got a higher rushing floor. I don't like this at all. He's not doing it. He's doing it basically on no pass volume with touchdowns. Like, look, his 2 bad games, the no touchdown games here. I get it was with Arizona, I think, but still, even with the rushing upside, if he doesn't get into the end zone, he's a waste. It's a bust, a big bust. He's living on touchdown luck right now, and if he doesn't continue to produce elite level touchdown rates, I don't even think the rushing totals is going to matter. So I would far prefer Sam Howell here over Dobbs. How about yourself?
I think he's safer than Dobbs just because you're talking about, like, he's shown he's not as good of a quarterback, but, like, in this system with Kevin O'Connell and how they, like, scheme up successful players, he's getting Justin Jefferson back. Like, he has far better talent to, like, give the ball to as passing weapon. So, like, I think his floor is very high just because he rushes. And it's just more about the passing coming together for the ceiling, right? So I'd honestly be fine with either one. I really don't care too much difference. Like, I'll expect Dobbs to be like a long QB1, Howell probably a mid-range QB1 on the same time.
Aside from that, we've got Russell Wilson here and Jameis Winston. Russ has been okay. He's not really someone I'm looking to target in single QB unless I'm really in a bad way. Like, look at these passing yards totals. He's lived off touchdowns the last 2 weeks. He's not doing anything. He's rushing, but not like he's okay rushing. He's a desperation play for me. I don't know why he's the 3rd most added or why he's trending up. I'm not seeing anything here. Maybe it's just because they won a primetime game last night, so everyone thinks all of a sudden he's fixed, but that game was ugly. That was not really anything to do with Russell Wilson winning that. So, and then we wrap it up here with Jameis Winston. Okay. One sec. I had a sneeze stuck. So we have Jameis Winston, who I assume is being added because people like myself are assuming that Derek Carr is going to miss multiple weeks, very least one. Winston, you're going to see a stat line. I'm thinking he's going to be more to the 250 to 300 yard passing yards range every week. But this 2 touchdown, 2 interception, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 3 and 3, this 50-50 ratio is going to continue because he's going to play YOLO ball. So I think you're going to see a weekly stat line of, well, we've seen what his potential was. 300 yards with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, or 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So if you're, excuse me, it's that time of the year with the allergies and the sinuses. But if you have a league that doesn't penalize you as heavily for interceptions, he's far more valuable. If you have a league like Scott Fishbowl that heavily, I don't even know if they do it this year, but heavily penalizes inefficiency or turnovers, he's going to kill you because he's guaranteed 2 interceptions a game. But he might throw 2-3 touchdowns and 300 yards. So
yeah, that's like the Warrior Bowl this year. The Warrior Bowl heavily penalized, like Scott Fishbowl did last year. This year, Scott Fishbowl has no negative plays. Like, they don't care for quarterbacks, so I'm completely fine with him in, like, that type of format. But yeah, if it's a lot of points for interceptions and sacks and things like that, Jameis is going to be a problem. He'll be so up and down. I just don't think, honestly, they're going to throw as much as Todd Monken did back in the day with the Bucks, just because the offense is not as near like the way they did it in Tampa Bay. So I think he's fine though. Like, if you need to add a screen every other week, like, you could probably roll with him.
All right, I'm ranking this: Howell, Dobbs, Winston, Wilson. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. Like, we don't know Jameis is going to start because they have a bye week in week 11, so then he's going to take over. And if Carr's back, Carr's going to play. That's just what it is. So yeah, I'll have him in that order too. It just makes the most sense. But I have like Dobbs and Howell really close together. Those two are like a tier above Russ, who's the tier above.
I have Sam Howell as the clear number 1. I don't buy Dobbs. He seems to do this everywhere. 2 or 3 great games and then falls right off the map. Teams catch on, and I don't like it. All right. We will move on to running back. The list is significantly longer. We have Ty Chandler here with Madison struggling. I think Madison left at midway through the third quarter. Then we have Devin Singletary second. He had a huge game without Pierce. Rico Dowdle because Tony Pollard's been terrible. Keaton Mitchell because he got a lot of not garbage time, but he got a lot of run there. Darrell Henderson, that's a messy backfield in LA. Latavius Murray, because somehow he was involved heavily. Don't ask me why. You punish a guy who has like 1 or 2 career fumbles for fumbling. I get it if James Cook has a history of fumbling every game or every other game. He has like 2 on his career, and 1 was on his first ever touch. What the hell are you doing? They should be firing everyone, not just the OC. Next, we have Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson, if you want to look, or if you look that up, he's like top 12 in running backs right now. I know it was a few really good games early and a few really good games late, but I'm not sure why Gibson's being added here. Deonta Foreman in another messy backfield and Royce Freeman in another messy backfield. So I think for me, the obvious choice here, I want Devin Singletary. I actually added him last week in a few leagues where I was forced into adding someone, and he was the best player left on the waiver wire or on free agency and on like the Sunday morning ads. And I added him and I looked at it and I said, holy shit, did I get lucky? I had a few people messaging me saying, how did you know Singletary was going to be that good? I didn't. He was the only guy left to add, and I added him, and now I look like a genius. But better to be lucky than good. Who are you targeting here?
So those top 2 guys are by far my favorite choices. Chandler with just a concussion, so I'm expecting Chandler to be the guy. He saw like 70% of the work once the injury happened. Like he took over, he was basically the RB1 at backfield. That role is great. They just need someone to be good and they'll do that. Yeah, Singletary without Pierce, he gets all the work. So same thing. Like if Pierce is missing another game, you can lock in Singletary. I think Mitchell's the most intriguing as far as like dart throws because they're talking about more work for him, and he's like a discount Devon A-Chain. Like the way he goes about it, he's just explosive play left to right. And I will say Gibson is actually more intriguing than a lot of these other options because the Commanders are passing so much in PPR leagues. Like Gibson's gonna see targets. Like they're averaging 45 pass attempt spots like 5 weeks or something. So like he's gonna see targets. He'll be fine. Like as a solid, if you just need like a flex friendly running back, I think Gibson can get you there just based on the targets alone. Like that offense will support him. So I honestly don't mind. But like Murray, I think he's probably gonna lose out to Fournette whenever Fournette's active and plays out. Like he can siphon that role from him. So like I'm not really interested in Murray. And then Foreman, it's a money backfield. So you can go after him, like you just don't know how it's gonna shake out. Particularly with Khalil Herbert on his way back. Like those guys always kind of worry me a little bit. Oh, you're muted. I guess you can't hear me. Yeah. Aaron, you're muted, dude.
Fuck, how long have I been muted?
About 30 seconds to a minute there. I was trying to get your attention. I was like, dude, I can't hear anything.
I was on the other screen. I'm glad you said something, and then I happen to look back and I'm like, oh, do we have a comment? And I look, yeah, we have a comment. It's Aaron, are you muted? Okay, so gonna look back. What I was trying to summarize before I muted myself, I have like some sinus congestion going on, and I keep going and clearing my throat. So I'm trying to mute myself, but I forget to unmute myself. So the Rams running back I want is Darrell Henderson. I think he gets the most workload. I don't know if there's an upside. I want nothing to do with Royce Freeman. I want nothing to do with Zach Evans. Ty Chandler, I think, is good for at least one game. He only got half a game's workload here. The touchdown makes it kind of difficult to assess. But I think, obviously, if Madison's out with a concussion, he's worthwhile. Singletary is the most interesting one for me. The question is, did he play well enough that he's going to remain the lead back when Pierce is healthy? Is it a 50-50 split when Pierce is healthy? Does he go back to just being the backup when Pierce is healthy? Like, I don't think this is a one for like, these situations always play out different. Sometimes like you'll see even with Gibbs, Gibbs and Montgomery, you see Montgomery come back. It looks to be a slightly, a 60-40 for Gibbs now, but who knows? That could have just been them ramping him up. These situations play out different for every team, and there's no real way to predict it. So what I don't mind here is holding on to Singletary at least long enough to see what the role is going to be. Like I said, he could be a league winner here, so he's worthwhile because he looked great. He could be the lead back. He could be a backup again, and he could be in a timeshare. So there is a wide range of outcomes for him. Mitchell, I don't really want much of. He didn't have much work. 6 in a row, touchdown. He got his work here, but it was in garbage time, as you see from an 18% snap share against Seattle.
So I would think he was seeing work above, not Justin, the other guy there. What's his name? Justice Hill. So he was seeing work above Justice Hill when they started the game out. And he hurt himself, and he basically did not play most of the rest of the game. So that kind of has something to do with it. So I think he's interesting, but yeah, I agree. There's a lot more risk with him than, say, like Singletary or the others.
I don't think he's likely to be available in that many leagues, so I'm not all that concerned. He seemed like he was last week's hot waiver wire ad. Who else is on here? I think for me, it's easily Devin Singletary, I think, is my prize here. That's who I want. I don't mind Foreman or Mitchell or Chandler. I just don't know how good any of them are or what their role is going to be moving forward. So I think I go Singletary. Maybe Singletary, Gibson, Foreman. I'll sneak Gibson in there with Mitchell in fourth. What do you think you got here?
Yeah, I like those guys listed. And then I will say, like, a bunch of people are dropping Fournette, which is weird to me. Like, I would much rather go pick up Fournette just because they don't like what they have in that backfield, obviously. So as soon as Fournette gets healthy, then as soon as he knows the playbook, he's going to play and steal Murray's role. So it just depends on how much of that passing game work you take over and really just cut the cuts work. So I think he's interesting because the way he plays is like for fantasy points, like he's always been good at that. So yeah, I'll throw a dart on Fournette just in case it doesn't work out next week.
I would advocate for stashing pretty much any speculative player on the Buffalo Bills right now. We have a coaching change at OC. So until we see what the new OC is going to be doing, you can't rule anyone out and you can't assume anyone's role. Like, Diggs and Josh Allen aren't going anywhere, but could Shakir or Davis be more involved? Sure. Could Cooks be the bell cow? Sure. Could he be completely phased out for Fournette? Yep. All bets are off. So aside from Diggs and Allen, I think everyone is up for grabs here. So stash as many as you can just to see how it shakes out. I'd like to see who do they have this week? Philly. So that's not – the Jets. That's not a great one. That seems like it would be more of a running game. I can't see the fucking screen. That would be more of a running game because I don't want to face the Jets pass defense. Oh, I clicked off the browser by mistake. Sorry about that, guys. One sec. I hit the wrong button and closed my screen.
I know you're good. I will say, like, Joe Brady's the new OC, and a few years ago he was running the Carolina Panthers offense under Matt Rule, and they were actually pretty good. I don't know why they fired him. It just seemed like he was a scapegoat. But the offense was not too bad, so I kind of want to dig into the Joe Brady past work and see how he treats his running backs, and then kind of get a better idea on that.
All right, we will move on. If I can get it on the damn screen here, we'll move on to wide receiver. Did that come up? There we go. Okay, we've got 11 here. Some I like, some I do not. Noah Brown is number one. He's awesome for as long as Tank Dell continues to battle injuries and as long as CJ Stroud looks like the MVP. Jalen Guyton, I don't really want any part of the Chargers pass catchers with the exception of Keenan Allen. Guyton, Palmer when he's healthy, Quentin Johnston, who's also on the list down at 9. They seem like they're going to be a Green Bay situation where they're just playing one. Allen's awesome, and then they're playing rotate the usable, backup here. Brandon Cooks, big game. I think he's had a couple of big games. I don't think he's had 3 good games out of 4. I guess if you're in a deep league, he's not terrible. I'm not sure I really want any part of him. Jaden Reed, like I said, with Houston, they are playing musical chairs with the receivers. One has a good game, then they have a bad game, good game, bad. Between him, Dobbs, and Watson, it's just throwing a dart. Tank Dell, I have no idea why he's even on this list. At 75% rostered, I don't know how he could be a free agent in any league, but if he's available, pick him up. I know he hasn't been healthy, but he's good. Trenton Irwin was a usable player this week. He wasn't great. He's only useful for as long as T. Higgins is out. Kyle Phillips is another one where he never really seems to pop. He always just has an okay game. He is probably my least favorite target on here so far, even below Brandon Cooks. A.T. Perry had a good game. Sorry, not a good game. It was saved by the touchdown. I want no part of that. He's like wide receiver 5 on the Saints. Quentin Johnson, I mentioned. OBJ was mostly, I believe, on one long touchdown. It is one catch on 2 targets. And the catch was a 40-yard touchdown. I want no part of that. I'd much rather prefer to stash Rashad Bateman if I had to stash a Raven. And we'll round it out with Rashee Rice, who I've been stashing forever. He seems to be the wide receiver 1 in KC. He just can't really seem to get over that, threshold here. He's just like, this was his worst game of the season, but it was pretty low scoring defensive battle kind of for the 2 teams. But what are your takeaways here? What do you think?
So if a lot of these guys are interesting, like as long as Josh Palmer's out, like Guyton's gonna have a role. So if you need somebody for short term production, he's fine. Same thing with A.T. Perry. Like Thomas is a significant injury, so I'm basically treating him as done for the season, and basically his career is pretty much over. So if you have Thomas in Dynasty, you're pretty much screwed with him. But A.T. Perry's like stepping into a bigger role. Obviously, I think Shaheed will be better, but like you're just taking a gamble, and James Winston's the quarterback, like they're passing him, stuff like that. Jaden Reed, he was the best wide receiver last week for Green Bay, and it's another muddled like wide receiver room. So you're basically looking at these wide receiver rooms and just trying to find the guy you think is going to break out. They all have issues. No one's going to be exceptional unless it's like Tank Dell. Then obviously go get Tank Dell because he's by far the best wide receiver. But you're trying to throw darts and hit the right guy. Quentin Johnston's finally seeing targets, so could be him. You never know. Like it hasn't been great for him, but he's far better off than James Williams. Those 2 guys, right? So like him, I would be fine throwing a dart on him. If you need short term production, though, like Guyton's fine. And if you want to take a real dart throw, just you can target A.T. Perry until it works out. But even like Noah Brown, whenever Nico Collins comes back, like I'm not gonna trust him. That just is what it is. But yeah, so it's just I think with these wide receivers, you're actually targeting week 2. See how it goes.
Michael Thomas, fairly significant knee injury. I wonder. I don't have any more details on it. I wonder if it was ACL or MCL or anything. He could be very well. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't hang it up. Like, what was he doing here?
I think he's done. Like after, if it is a significant injury, like it's so many injuries. Unfortunately, like he's one of the best wide receiver starters career of all time. And it's just injury after injury after injury, and he's just no longer what he was. So I think he's probably going to hang it up if it is a significant thing.
He hasn't been great this year, anyways. Though, like I always say, like, look, he's a top 7 receiver when he plays every game in the season, but even through 10 games, he's wide receiver 47. So he was not great. He was just 8 to 10 points. He was a wide receiver 3 at best. I don't know. I think this has been my least exciting week for the wide receivers so far this season. I don't think Tank Dell's likely to be available anywhere. Noah Brown, I don't mind, or Guyton or Johnson. I think I'd prefer Johnston, actually, but I don't mind any of them for as long as there's injuries on that depth chart in front of them. But not a big fan of Brandon Cooks either. No, I don't really like this list. For me, I'm going Tank Dell, obviously. After that, I would go Noah Brown, Rashee Rice, a Chargers receiver, and then Cooks, or a Chargers receiver and then Reed. Like there's 6 of them, and I think between Noah, if this was my waiver wire, which it is, but I'm not putting in a claim. But if I had to, I would put in minimal bids on Brown, Guyton, Cooks, Reed, Dell. Not Dell. Dell, I would have a significant bid. But so I would have these top 4, Johnston and Rice, and I would just be happy getting whoever fell to me, with the exception, like I said, of Dell, who I would pony up some money for. But
yeah, I think with these guys, you start that on the most talented players. So like I'm going to target Quentin Johnston, who I still think is a good talent, even though it has not worked out for him. Obviously, Tank Dell's the first one, and then Rashee Rice. Outside of that, you're really just going week to week with these guys. Because Noah Brown, if you get him for short term, sure, it works out. Guyton, the same thing. As long as Palmer's out, kind of is what it is with these guys. So I'm not super excited about a lot of options. I'm going to pull up this comment real quick. And if this is one QB, absolutely. Like you have Goff and Dobbs. I don't think you can get third QB. So I would go see what you can get for Tua and like make your team better up.
One sec. Tua, let's see.
Like yeah, Trey McBride, go get Trey McBride.
Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, not ideal. Yeah, that's not ideal. Who are the other two?
Jared Goff and Josh Dobbs.
Goff, Denver's not ideal. Minnesota is. Dallas. So I don't know if Goff's schedule, like he has one joint matchup with Dallas. Denver's not a great match. Denver is a good matchup. Denver and Minnesota are good matchups. Sorry. And Dobbs is the other one. I don't want to be trusting Dobbs in the playoffs.
I think you can mix and match with these teams. Totally
Dobbs has a mediocre playoff schedule, so I don't think any of the three have a great playoff schedule. Goff would be my favorite of the three. I don't know. I would I don't think you can. The problem is, I'd like to trade Dobbs here, but I don't think Dobbs will have the value. So,
yeah, like Tua's got the most value. So I would, because like they're likely to finish around the same range, right? We've seen Tua in good matchups, he's great. In bad matchups, he's not so good. So like I would take his value and push it into another player, like to boost your rosters. Yeah, you roll with Goff and Dobbs.
If this is one QB and I can trade Tua for a decent running back or a receiver, I don't mind it. If you plan on starting Goff, but I'm not making any long-term plans to be starting Josh Dobbs in my playoff matchups. Like that's not where I want to be putting all my eggs, but we will get back into the tight end waiver wire here. We have Trey McBride at 1, Tanner Hudson at 2, which must mean he caught a touchdown this week. Luke Musgrave at 3, Tyler Conklin at 4, Logan Thomas and David Njoku rounded out. Let's check on Tanner Hudson here to see why. 6 for 7.
Wow, that's wild.
That's interesting, but that's with Higgins out. Yeah. 2 weeks in a row, he's had decent targets. I still don't know if I want to go there. This looks like his ceiling. So unless he starts catching touchdowns, I get he's a tight end, but 12 points. I don't. If you're desperate at tight end, there's worse options, but he would be easily my least favorite of the 6 on this list. I would like to go Trey McBride. Is McBride, Thomas, Njoku, Conklin, Musgrave, Hudson.
Like it's literally like McBride a tier above everyone by blocks. And then I think it's Njoku pretty easily. Njoku's good. Like we've seen it. It's clicking with Sean Watson. Like you see the targets, they're rolling through. He's at 9, 8, 6, 9 targets the last 4 games. That's what you love to see. Logan is in one of the better passing attacks as far as targets. So you want him, you go with that. Like there's decent options, but like most of these guys are not going to be available. The one guy that's going to be available is probably Musgrave or Conklin. Like if you look at the roster percentages I'm looking at, they're the only 2 below 50. Musgrave's at 29, Conklin's at 15. So like I'd be fine with Musgrave over Conklin. I don't think
there's no real ceiling here for Musgrave. I might move Musgrave below Hudson, but the problem is it's an injury thing, and Hudson's production has been better the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's much more likely to vanish. Long term, I think I'd rather Musgrave, but if I had to start someone this week, if Higgins is out, I don't mind Hudson as a desperation here. Like 6, I don't know.
Yeah, no problem, Z. I think you can basically look at this as like watch the Higgins situation. If Higgins is out, you could probably pick up Tanner for free. Like nobody's going to claim him. You're probably gonna have to claim actually McBride, or sorry, not McBride, Musgrave is the way I look at it, because he still has some cachet to his name and stuff like that.
I prefer Conklin over both of them pretty easily. I think here. The Jets,
like he's seen 6 and 7 targets too. I just don't trust Zach Wilson the biggest problem. Like I think Zach Wilson's the worst quarterback in the league. So like I'm really worried. But like look at these numbers; those are monster numbers. So maybe it works out. But he's got Buffalo and then Miami. That does not sound promising.
All right. I also don't mind Taysom Hill, having said that he's the most dropped tight end because I started him this week. So he's stuck at right in everyone's pooper with 4 targets here. But that also, I don't know if that's the result of the injury or not. If if Derek Carr is not starting this week, I want nothing to do with Taysom Hill because Jameis Winston, that actually, I guess we could transition into that. Jameis Winston, if he's playing this week, this is bad for Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. You need to sell Alvin Kamara before this is announced because Jameis Winston is not checking the ball down. This is Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed is a great buy right now, especially with Thomas out. I guess that also brings in A.T. Perry, which might be a sneaky ad as well because Jameis Winston is not looking for a 5-yard check down. Jameis Winston is going to close his eyes and say, fuck it, Chris Olave down there somewhere, and he's going to chuck the ball 60 yards. And half the time it's going to be a touchdown, and the other half it's going to be an interception. So,
yeah, I think like you're saying, like those two are the targets. And you sell high on Kamara. Like Kamara's going to be fine, but like I don't think he's going to be the player he was. And we already saw Jamal Williams kind of do it a little bit, so he was already dropping down a little bit lower. It's just it kind of is with Kamara, but he's fine. He'll give you,
the weeks of him getting, 14-8. I mean, I guess it's tapered off a little bit anyways, but 7 targets. I don't think if Winston's at quarterback, I don't think he sees more than 5 targets a game.
Yeah, the ceiling's lower, like no doubt about it. That's just Derek Carr and how Jameis Winston play. Like they're different quarterbacks, and this is why QBs are so important with these running backs sometimes, right? Like some guys check it down, some don't. And this is a huge example of that. Where like if you can get Chris Olave like at all, because people are still down on him, go get Chris Olave because he's going to be a wide receiver 1 in Jameis Winston, like no doubt about it.
Well, I think the end conclusion here is it's not a great week on the waiver wire all around. It's some pretty shitty options. Even the injury situations aren't great. So hopefully you don't need a desperation play right now as we get close to the playoffs. All right. I guess that concludes the waiver show. Check back tomorrow. We're going to do some fantasy court. We've got Trevor Lawrence will be debated between JJ Schultz and Dustin Ludke. We'll do that tomorrow. And then Thursday, Friday, we are back live for the preview shows. Thursday, we start with the AFC because the Thursday nighter is what?
It is, let's see here. It is week 11.
I know it's AFC.
It is Cincy and Baltimore. Actually, good game. How about that?
I was going to say, I know it's AFC North. I just couldn't remember if it was Pittsburgh and Cleveland or Cincy, Baltimore. And then we will be back Friday with the NFC previews. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, catch us tomorrow. For Aaron and Jesse, take care and have a great day. Thanks for watching the Mad Science Lab podcast, Week 11 Fantasy Football Waiver Wire Show.